All right, more updates on Donald Trump's coronavirus and how it is affecting the White House and the Republican Party. All of our live videos are brought to you by twostrongcoffee.com/TYT. We'll have the link down below, but it's easy to remember, twostrongcoffee.com/TYT. And the live show at 6 o'clock Eastern with Anna will have every update for you guys. So make sure you're watching that for all the breaking news and for the nuances and analysis. And of course, as always, thank you to all the members who make this possible. And you could hit the join button below to become a Young Turks member on YouTube. Okay, so let's get to the news here. First of all, we started last night with finding out that one of Donald Trump's top aides, Hope Hicks, had coronavirus. And immediately everybody started to be concerned that Donald Trump was going to have it. And then we found out late last night Donald Trump does have coronavirus. If you've been living under a rock, so that's news to you. Obviously, most folks have heard that already, and that was a shockwave throughout the country and the world. And then Melania Trump also has coronavirus, but it keeps going. So these are the new updates you might not have heard. Ronna McDaniel, the head of the Republican Party, she has coronavirus. Mike Lee, Republican senator, one of the most right-wing senators in the country, he has coronavirus. By the way, Mike Lee is the same guy who did an anti-science rant. In that case, it was about climate change, and he mocked the left for believing in scientists. My guess is Mike Lee believes in scientists today. Donald Trump, who downplayed all the doctors and scientists throughout this pandemic, I guarantee you, the one set of people allowed in the rooms for Donald Trump at this point are doctors and scientists. So it's, they say there's I don't mean to say that Donald Trump is dying, and I hope he doesn't for all the reasons I've explained already, but there's the deathbed conversions, and usually in popular parlance, that's conversion to religion when you're sick. In this case, I think it's conversion to science when you get sick from a disease like coronavirus. So just Trish, thank you for using YouTube Super Chat. We really appreciate it. So in terms of the rest of the folks now, okay, more bad news coming out. Mark Meadows is the chief of staff. He was out there doing interviews. He was being challenged by some of the reporters. And it turns out now they're saying that he's having some symptoms. Get everybody quarantined. What are you guys doing? You guys are all on the same plane together. When are you going to get this through your head? The president has coronavirus. They're still walking around like coronavirus is not real. Trump has it. Now Republicans have become so impervious to reality that nothing seems to penetrate their head. Mark Meadows, put a mask on, get inside, and go see a doctor, go get tested. Are you insane? Okay, so the real McCoy just became a member. Thank you guys, appreciate it. So now and then what did Trump do? Apparently, the reporting is that they knew in the morning that Hope Hicks had coronavirus on Wednesday. I believe that's the latest on this. And that Trump went to a Republican fundraiser in New Jersey on Wednesday night anyway. Now, look, it's the fog of war kind of here. And so in this case, when Trump says fake news, etc., that's almost never true. It is real news. But as things are happening so quick in news events, sometimes things do wind up being reported a little off. So I'm not positive that they knew for sure that Hope Hicks had it Wednesday morning. Holding that news all the way to Thursday night would be outrageous. I wouldn't put it past them, but I'm not positive that Trump knew that Hope Hicks had it Wednesday morning. So, but either way, Wednesday night, Trump goes to a Republican fundraiser. Those are some of the top donors in the country for Republicans. They're meeting with the president. They paid a ton of money, and they're from the New York, New Jersey area. I don't know if that is a half, quarter, 10%, 5% of the Republican donor base. But remember, those are the guys who buy our elections. So I tell you 1,000 times over, it's not about hating rich people and, I don't like those shirts that say eat the rich. It's got none of that. Don't get into that stuff. It depends. What is their ideology? And are they doing anything wrong or are they not doing anything wrong? LeBron James is rich. He didn't do anything wrong, right? But people who are buying off our politicians at these fancy fundraisers, whether they're in Democratic ones or Republican ones, they're, if you will, patient zero, not of coronavirus, but of the sickness of the corruption of Washington. They are the ones buying our government. And so I'll be hard pressed to shed a tear for those Republican donors who were so greedy that under these circumstances, they were part of the system and the party and the campaign that downplayed coronavirus. If it turns out they met with personally and didn't socially distance and didn't wear masks indoors with the guy who has done the most damage in spreading misinformation about coronavirus, that's Donald Trump, while they were trying to buy him off, no, you will not get me to shed a tear on that one. And likely those donors are also older, and so I'm not going to root against anyone's health ever, right? But man, did you know the risk going into that room? And they took that risk anyway, so I guess that's on them. So, and by the way, guys, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that, because these are the folks, the Republican Party, their donors, etc., who didn't seem to have altogether that much concern for 200,000 dead Americans, 7 million Americans who got coronavirus. So for all the people who had coronavirus and recovered, for all the families of the dead from coronavirus in this country. And meanwhile, they downplayed it. Now, you know the Bob Woodward tapes, so you know that Trump knew all along that how bad coronavirus was, and he usually was personally careful when he was around folks. Apparently, he wasn't careful enough with his own aides, but they kept going to indoor rallies. They kept going maskless. So of course this was going to happen at some point. They were super lucky it hadn't happened yet. Zach Nelson and Walzik, thank you for becoming members. I'll read the names real quick here of folks who just signed up. Nick on Planet Ripple, thank you. Kate Westcott and George Hood. You guys make this show possible. We do the Young Turks together. Hit the join button below to make that happen, or you can go to tyt.com/join. We'll have all the links below as always. So guys, final thing here is, if it turns out Trump and Melania and his chief of staff and Hope Hicks, one of his top aides, and Ronna McDaniel, the head of the Republican Party, and a bunch of Republican senators and a bunch of Republican donors all have coronavirus. Wow. That is the party that downplayed coronavirus being absolutely decimated by coronavirus. So I don't want any of them to pass away. And I totally 100% earnestly mean that. But at the same time, I will not be someone who's fake and pretending not to notice the poetic justice of that. So for all those guys, for all those families, for all those people that they minimize their suffering, whether it was the families of the dead or the people who got sick. And now if they say, now that I'm sick, I don't want you to minimize it, and I want you to say this is a giant big deal, and I want to collect all the sympathy when I didn't give any sympathy to the others. No, on that, no deal. No deal. So, and look, last thing is, I'll give you the odds on it. Sanjay Gupta was on TV today talking about it. He's right based on all the things that I've read. Obviously, he's more of an expert than I am. But it's not just that. But the other articles and other experts that I have read basically agree with him. These are rough numbers, but let me give them to you. Look, Gupta says he has about a 90% chance of recovery, Donald Trump. Now, you might be thinking, why? I mean, he's clearly obese. I mean, Dr. Oz was on Fox this morning hilariously claiming that he's 244 because that's what the doctor's report says. He ain't no 244, 270, 280. I don't know what it is, but it's much higher than that. So he's got obesity issues. He's got heart issues, even though he's denying it. He clearly does. Remember the emergency visit to Walter Reed Medical Center? They had heart readings. So he's got 2 comorbidities, and he's 74 years old. But still, guys, the reason we're concerned about coronavirus is because even if you have a 90% chance of survival, as Gupta says about Trump, that means 10% of people die. And when you have a country of 330 million people, for older Americans, that is an awful lot of people to die. And obviously it affects non-older Americans too, but older Americans are more affected, and Trump is in that category. So that means when you're looking at an individual level, someone like Trump, well, he has a good chance of surviving. He has probably a 90% chance of surviving. But when you're looking at a group of people, all the people affected within the Republican leadership, well, you can do the math on it. If it's one person, they have a 90% chance of surviving. If it's 10 people, there's a pretty good chance one of them doesn't survive, especially because a lot of them are in the older group. So now, again, nobody's rooting for that, and I hope they all recover and we get back to normal in the election. Normal was really great for Democrats. And for Joe Biden, he had a massive lead. He was doubling Trump in the Electoral College the day before the news about coronavirus. So I want to get back to that as quickly as possible. I want to get everybody to be healthy as quickly as possible, but understand the odds here. And the last thing on that, before I tell you the last thing, I got to read out the members. Zach Nelson, Tony Spurgeon, Michael Grilly, Eric Swanson, sorry I shake the camera when I touch it to read the member names. Sel, Taria Wax, all just became members of the Young Turks. We appreciate you. You could do the same with hitting the join button. Okay, so last thing is, guys, if you're looking at it just from a political perspective, I'm worried that he comes out, hits the 90% as he should, and he survives and he's fine, and he comes out in a couple of weeks and then puts his arms up like this, like, I told you, I'm so strong, and that's why I survived, etc. And I'm worried about that in a couple of ways. One, in terms of political ramifications, people might give him sympathy, and then, yeah, he survived, and look at how strong he is, etc. And so in this context, that's really important because, unfortunately, democracy is on the line. And in the context of politics, he's definitely the bad guy. And it's so important to the country that he not win this election, right? But it also has health consequences. Alex Lombardo, thank you for becoming a member. Because if he comes out and he's fine and he acts like it was no big deal, which he will, overall 88, thank you for becoming a member. If he acts like it's no big deal, and he'll strut around the stage, right? Then that sends a bad message to everyone else. They won't understand that 10% of older people dying is a terrible number. That means a ton of people will die if they all get coronavirus. That's what herd immunity looks like. Herd immunity is, a whole bunch of people get it until it can't spread anymore. But remember, when older people get it, especially, they get it, and then 10% of them die. And that's what herd immunity looks like. Trump getting it is what herd immunity looks like. It's not a good look. We don't want that to happen. So if he sends that wrong message, oh boy, then we have another significant health problem where more people might get sick because they get the wrong message from that. I hope none of that happens, but I do hope that Trump is okay, obviously. All right. So Joseph Adamu, thank you for becoming a member. Hayat Duihi, thank you for becoming a member. Jesse Peterson, thank you. Chrissy Gasik, Michael Enferrati, Brian Jacobson, overall 88. You guys are the best. Don't forget, live shows at 6 o'clock. Make sure you check it out. Interviews are at 5:30. They start actually before the Young Turks. Check that out. And we'll give you all these breaking news updates as we go along today on a dramatic, amazing day of news.